Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Sandy. And we have Kathleen on the line
Hi.
here today.
Hi there.
So we're going to give folks a couple minutes to come on in to the webinar before we get started, but we just wanted to pop in and say hello. It's always a little frazzling the first few minutes of a webinar, so bear with us. We have yet to figure out the perfect webinar technology for having multiple guests on a webinar. So we'll have to invent one coming soon, but we're here. And Sandy can't see herself, but we can see you, Sandy.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna forget
Tell us about what's
that.
going on. Sandy and Kathleen, it's a big day for you all where you live. And
It
until
is
I
a
knew
big
you, I
day.
didn't know this thing existed. So tell us all about
Oh my gosh. So I got up really early today and we headed over to the Stampede breakfast. It is the day before the Stampede starts. So the Calgary Stampede is the greatest outdoor show on earth, right, Kathleen? That's how they advertise it. And it's just the city shuts down. It's like everyone's in denim, belt buckles come out. We've got our cowboy boots. So this morning I'm wearing like denim and boots and a shirt, and I have hat head, and we had free pancakes this morning at the CBC, our radio station near our house, and for the next 10 days, the city will be in absolute chaos. And we're leaving tomorrow, so we will miss most of it. But Kathleen, are you partaking?
I'm partaking a little bit, as I last year was sort of my first year attending it,
Uh,
and how I explain it to international folks is it's just imagine like an international like cowboy festival. Like
mhm.
that is exactly what it is. Hundreds and hundreds of like cowboys, real and fake, sort of take on the city, and it's the complete opposite of yoga and wellness.
The food is terrible. Everything's fried. There's a lot of beer consumed. Downtown completely shuts down. Like nobody works tomorrow. It's the parade. There's you can eat for free for the next 10 days. There's like pancake breakfast that's served out of like chuck wagons, and it's just mayhem here. But it's a lot of fun. I actually really enjoy the cultural side of it because it really promotes the Western heritage and the agricultural that goes on in this area. So, and it's the biggest rodeo on earth, I think. I don't even know if that's true, but we're going to say
It
that.
sounds like it. I mean, I think that this is just going to show that part of the beauty of working online is having a global team and a global community. And there are folks joining us from all over the world today. So that's super exciting, and including Calgary, where you two live. And I'm in Seattle. And so our headquarters are in Seattle for Namastream and the Soulful MBA, for those of you joining. But we have folks all over the place. So it's exciting to kind of learn new cultures and learn get to meet people from other places and learn about things that you didn't even know existed. So I like to consider myself fairly well traveled. I've been to, like, I don't know, 45 countries, but until last year I didn't know about the Calgary Stampede, which is a big part of your life. So go figure.
Oh, yeah. We'll get you and Kennedy up here next year and
Yeah.
wearing cowboy boots and
Yeah.
eating
It'll
pancakes.
be fun. Yeah. So it looks like we have folks joining from Mexico, Seattle, Montana.
Wow.
So Canada, like we're just, let's dive in, and
All
and
right.
folks will start to trickle into, and we'll send the replay out to everyone tonight or tomorrow morning. So just know that that's coming. But let's go ahead and get started. So again, I'm Jennifer Barcelos, for those of you just joining, and I'm joined with my co-founder, Sandy Conry. Hey, Sandy. And we have
Hello.
Kathleen Davey on our team, on the line as well, to help us with answering questions in the webinar. So if you see in your little control panel, there's a chat area and a questions area. So you're welcome to post questions, or in the questions area or in the chat area, and we'll do our best to answer them during the training today. So we just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview about Namastream and the Soulful MBA. So Namastream as a company is about 2 years old. I started this company with a little baby in my lap 2 years ago. I went through an online entrepreneurship program called the Foundation, and Kathleen and Sandy also did the same program, and that's how we met. And it teaches you how to start a software company from nothing. And Namastream is the culmination of that process for some of us. And Namastream is an online virtual studio software tool that allows wellness professionals like yoga teachers and personal trainers and dancers to take their teaching and training online and to build a virtual business. So that's what Namastream is all about, and that's sort of how we all have come together. And in the last 2 years, we've learned a lot of stuff. So this is just a tip of the iceberg of some of the kind of hard lessons we've learned over the last 2 years since starting this company. Sandy and Kathleen came onto our team in November, so they've got some time under their belts now to have been with Namastream. Before that, it was mostly me on my own, and that's something that we'll talk about over the course of the webinar today about when it's time to sort of build out a team and what that looks like. But without further ado, Sandy, why don't you go ahead and just pipe in and greet everyone and sort of tell them your story and how you came to this journey.
First of all, just welcome to everyone that's joining us. And Jenny and I have been friends for about 2 years and spoke pretty much every day until I joined Namastream. And a lot of the stuff that we talked about were these things that we learned, and we wish that we had someone to tell us before we started. So that's why we kind of gathered our common lessons and are bringing this to you today. So I hope that it's, for those of you that are in the trenches and are actually building an online business and taking your teaching or coaching online, we hope that this will help you and save a few headaches. And for those of you that are thinking about it or considering it or just kind of sort of swirling around as an idea, again, same thing. We just hope that some of these you might go, aha, okay, good to know, or that just be ready to recognize when some of these things crop up. So I hope it's valuable. And certainly, as Jenny said, ask questions along the way, interrupt us anytime. Kathleen's going to be monitoring the chat, and she will ask the questions so we can answer them for you.
Yeah, and so some of the issues that we'll be going over today are lessons that might not apply directly to your business, but they're general sort of life and business lessons, and some of them will probably be very directly relevant. So just to preface it, many of you are folks who are either our clients or prospective clients who are interested in coming onto our platform or working with us inside of our Soulful MBA business community. And so we obviously serve this great community of wellness professionals, and we are sort of in that sector ourselves because we have a software platform and a business platform for you, but we also run a software company, and so we're also sort of in the tech startup space. So some of our lessons are a little bit different, but we just want to be authentic and honest about who we are in our journey. So these are sort of like our authentic lessons that we've presented, and we think many of them will be relevant to you as well. So if you're, an acupuncturist or a yoga teacher or a yoga studio owner or a Pilates instructor, I think a lot of them will still be relevant, but just know that we all bring our own kind of story and business to the table in this conversation. And that's just where we're coming from, is we are sort of in that tech space as well. So without further ado, these are the 8 things that we really wish we knew before starting our business, or the lessons that we've learned along the way. And some of these things you sort of read about and we learned about when we were just getting started, but until you kind of go through the school of hard knocks and have some failures yourself, it's hard to really learn them. And so we're trying today to contextualize some of these lessons, because it's one thing to just hear a catchphrase like culture matters in your team, right? But then to understand why we say that maybe will help to contextualize it for you and help make it more real for you. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, ready for the first one?
Let's go in. Yeah, let's dive in. Okay, so that's the first one I wanted to talk about today. So culture matters a ton. And like I said, when Namastream first started out, for the first year and a half, it was mostly me and one developer. And it was great. And Namastream was my baby. And I loved it and nurtured it and made it exactly how I wanted, the best I could. However, there are limits. Like when something is small, it's great to make it uniquely yours and to sort of build it out in your own way. But because Namastream outgrew me, I decided to grow our team in order to be able to scale and give our clients the attention that they deserved in order to build out the features that we wanted to build out and build out the experience for our users. And so I started to bring more people onto the team, which was super exciting for me, but definitely made some mistakes along the way. And so I'm so grateful to have our core team that we have now. I feel really proud and excited to work with the small group that we have, but we did take some risks bringing on other folks into the fray that didn't quite work out for one way or another. And so that's a hard thing to talk about. I don't want to go into too many details other than I tended to think okay, especially around technology, I want to get the person who is the most credentialed or who looks the best on paper. And if I can have a great intellectual conversation with that person, then it's okay. Maybe if they're not from the wellness space, it's okay, or they don't understand the way we're trying to architect our business. They'll learn that part because they have the hard skill set that we need. And that didn't work very well at all. Like we made a lot of mistakes with growing our team, particularly on the technology side, because that's harder to find a fit for. But in general, like there have been quite a few errors that I feel like responsible for in judgment, where I didn't trust my intuition. I didn't sort of trust my gut feeling about my ability to sort of like jive with someone. And when you're building a business, a small business in particular, like you work really closely with your team. Like Sandy said, we talk every day, every single day. Like if we haven't, it's like 3 p.m. and we haven't connected, like we're like, what's wrong? What happened to you? Like it's just we're all on Slack all day. Even on the weekends, we often connect. That's just part of running a startup, is sort of kind of being on call with each other. And I think if that's not, and for me, it's a super pleasurable experience because I work with people that I love and adore. But when you have people in that mix who maybe don't fit your culture, then that can actually be very stressful and problematic. And so just want to say how important this is. And even if it's just you or you and a VA, or you, if you run a studio, it's you and your teachers, right? That culture part really, really matters. And I think before I started working in the yoga and wellness space, like I think we paint this picture that this is like a very loving, authentic community. And I think that's true, but there are a lot of different personality types in the wellness sector, right? And I don't know if I've ever seen as much drama in any other area of my life. So my past history is as a lawyer, and folks are maybe a little more formal with each other in that sector. And in this wellness space, there's kind of a lot of drama. I'll just say there's some big personalities. There's some celebrities that have big personalities that don't necessarily jive with each other. And I think I'm not going to get into details, but we all kind of know about these things. And it's just to say that even if it's just you and one other person, or you and a couple of other people working together and collaborating, just make sure that you're on the same page and that your work styles work together. So Sandy, why don't you pipe in? I think you have
I think
too.
Yeah, I think that the biggest point is that intuition, and usually people in this space understand that instantly. I don't even know how many people I have hired in my life in my old world with the retail stores and the clinic, and within a couple minutes you know if that person's a fit or not. It's something that's hard to verbalize, but I was always right on that gut feeling. Yeah. And you know, like we did hire someone who did not fit, and you and I both had lots of warning bells going off, but she looked like, you know, on paper it should work, and it absolutely did not. And then Kathleen is the other extreme example where, Jenny, I think you said we need someone to help us, and I was like, it's Kathleen, and I phoned her and I didn't even finish my sentence, and Kathleen said, whatever it is, I'll do it. Whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. Whatever you were phoning about, yes. Like I didn't even finish my sentence. So just because I know that culturally, I know she will fit in with our culture and our team, and of course it's worked out beautifully. So thank you, Kathleen, for accepting.
Yeah, thank you, Kathleen. Yeah, so I think that, and one thing that we did, we went through this startup accelerator, which is like a slightly irrelevant conversation right now. But one of the things we did the first day, or like the homework before the first day of our accelerator, was to create a manifesto of our sort of vision and culture and goals. And so you'll see on our newsletter and kind of on our website, we have this little 3-word phrase that's be kind, be brave, be loved. And those were 3 out of like 7 things that we came up with, like over a glass of wine at dinner, that were really important to us as people, that were really like loving with each other and kind, and that were also brave and ambitious and willing to take on risks. And so out of the 7, those were the sort of 3 that stood out the most. And that's like continued to, I feel like, be what drives our company, and what drives, like when we think about the headlines for our newsletters and what's in the content that we're putting out and what's in the culture that we're creating with our business, it fits into that trifecta of those 3 values. And so I use that as a touchstone in our business to sort of think about, like, does this fit with these goals? Because that's really who we are. Like, we're really all about like being kind to each other and to ourselves, and being brave and what we do and being loving. Like everything we do is from this a source of love. And if it's not, like we all have better things to do, right? So in our business, like those are the guiding principles that kind of drive us every day as a team and as a company. So if that's helpful, just to think about coming up with maybe your own manifesto or your own like code of conduct in terms of like your values for how you run your business. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Next
one.
Okay, so that was the sort of like ethereal part of the lesson today. Like everything else is very tactical that we're going to talk about, I think, the rest of this training. So the next one is growing a list. And I've been working since day one, prior to day one of starting Namastream, to grow an email list. And I sort of like half-heartedly worked at it though, because to me, it made me really uncomfortable to ask someone for their email. It's just like doesn't really jive with who I am as a person. Like I don't want to sell to anyone. I don't want to like ask anyone for anything. Like if people, like most of our clients have come to us organically, and I like that about our business. I know that that's like maybe not as like that doesn't jive with the be brave part, right? So this is an example of us being brave, is that being able to go out and ask for something, and something even as small as an email address. And I know from all of the clients that we've personally consulted with, so we have our software and we have this Soulful MBA business community that we've started. We also take on private clients, so yoga studio owners or teachers or trainers who want to sort of accelerate their business development. We work with one-on-one or two-on-one with Sandy and I. And this is always like a tricky thing for people. I don't want to ask anybody for anything. Like we in the wellness space tend to be wary of like asking for what we want or what we feel like we need for our business. And it starts with this email list. So without doubt, sort of the fastest way to grow your presence online is to start to collect email addresses. I didn't put as much effort into this at the beginning as I should have, and I still don't, to be honest. We collect them, but we don't mail anything very much. We like have one newsletter that we send every week, and it's really hard for me to want to send anything else to people. So grow your list, have an opt-in on your website, have a way when you are physically hanging out with people and teaching or training clients, like have a way for them to either sign up on your phone or iPad, or even have a clipboard and a pen and paper handy, because people want to stay connected to you. They really do. Like you're a professional, they are seeking out your service. And it's if they're giving you their email address or willing to do that, it's because they want to know what you're going to share with them. They want to know what you're offering, what classes you're teaching, what services you're going to provide online or offline. So just kind of I'll always be collecting email addresses. It will be a really good way to fast track your growth.
And I think from the teachers that I speak to that are like, looking into Namastream or looking into Soulful, they know what they know that they want to teach online, and they know what they want to teach, but there's very little thought into announcing it to the world.
Yeah.
So once they have their content, the question is, so what are you going to do with it? Who are you going to tell? And if you don't have an audience to tell, you're not going to be very successful. So you need to kind of think ahead that you've got to sell this ultimately down the road. You're going to be selling your content, and you need people to, to sell to. So that's why it is never too early to start growing that list.
Yeah. And we have some tactical ideas for how to do it. I mean, you don't need a website to start building an email list. You don't need anything really. You can sign up for a free email service provider like MailChimp, and you can create a sign up form in minutes that you can have a link for to give to people. Then they can sign up, give you their name and email, and then it puts them onto your email list, and it's free. Like I think for up to 500 people or something.
500, yeah.
Yeah. So really, like it takes a while to get your first 500 emails. And so if you're just starting out or you're relatively new, like you don't need to say, I'm getting my website. I have got to wait until my website is done, or I've got to wait until I've built out my Instagram profile or whatever. Like you don't need anything. You just can create a list, or you can go old school and carry around a notebook pen and paper and start collecting them. And that's really that's hands down something you should be doing. Every one of us who has any presence online, even if it's just a static website page where you're listing the hours for your physical studio, you need to have an email address or an email capture system. Okay, I think we've
Yep,
exhausted
absolutely.
that one. Collect
All right,
emails. That's
next.
the lesson. Okay, and I kind of touched on this one earlier. This is harder, even harder than the other one. So once you collect their emails, you need to stay in contact with folks. And I think we made the mistake with Namastream of not staying in consistent communication for a long time. So for the first year, this is all me, by the way. Like these ladies who are also on the line have helped me to overcome this issue, but I didn't send hardly anything for an entire year. So people just kept signing up, and I would send one thank you message like welcome, and then they would get nothing for a year. A year. And so I'm surprised that folks stayed on the list even. And I'm surprised that we still have been able to sell our platform to folks who I didn't email for a whole entire year. And I'm grateful for everyone's kind of like patience and learning this process. But I wonder how much farther along we would be now, like closing out year 2, if I had not been afraid to email people for an entire year. So consistent communication is really important. And a good rule of thumb is that you want to give 3 gifts for every one ask. So you want to send out 3 newsletters or 3 blogs or 3 messages for that are just simply like you giving someone advice or showing them something about yourself or introducing something. 3 things that are a gift for every one ask. So for every one time you email about a retreat or about an online program that you're launching or about a class that that a workshop you're teaching, whatever, you need to have 3 other things as a rule that are just not asking them for something. So in order to be able to market and sell to people on your email list, you need to be giving a lot of stuff away for free, which requires coming up with like a schedule and a content calendar and a way of consistently staying in touch with your community, so that you're not only coming in and asking for something when you have something to sell them. Yeah.
Right, and that's true for social media too. So in our social media challenge that we also run, that's one of our messages is give, 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 take, basically. So you don't every Instagram post is not like come join this or come buy this or download that. It's like information. Hey, would you like to? So yeah, it's a great 3-to-1 is a great little
And it'll
ratio
start
to
to
know
make
about.
it feel better to communicate with people because you're like, oh, I'm not asking for anything. Like it gets easier for you, probably, like for me at least. I love our newsletter and our blog because it's a way for us to sort of build community and stay in touch, and it doesn't feel uncomfortable because it's just we're all kind of working on it together and we're not asking for anything. And to me, that's changed my fear around emailing folks because we get comments like, I'm so afraid, I don't want to bother anyone, but we get comments every single week from our newsletter that we send out, like, thank you so much, this was really helpful, or I never knew about that, wow, thank you, this is beautiful, right? So we've started to be like, oh, this is great, like we like making this, it brings us joy to create this, and we get feedback that people like it, so that has helped to reinforce this consistent communication for our team.
Good. Next, bigger one.
Oh boy. Okay, so sales funnels.
Can we just point out that the image I chose is a funnel. It's a pour-over coffee thing. I thought that was quite clever.
I think, Sandy, you did a really good job on making the slide deck particularly stunning for today. Thank you, Sandy. And thank you for being so crafty with your photo choices. I did notice.
I want everyone to get
that. I did notice the paper funnel in the Chemex. So I think that was very clever.
All right, good.
Yeah. So sales funnels, I don't know. Some of you might not have heard this phrase. I certainly hadn't heard this phrase until 2 years ago. So it's just this idea that once someone gives you their email address or they walk into your place of business, that you have a process in place to sell to them after that point, like after that first point of contact. And we're still building out our sales funnels. We have more than one, like we have sort of one main one, and then we have little arms that shoot off of it. And it's an ever evolving process. So once somebody signs up and gives you an email address, for example, what do you do, right? So maybe you send a thank you email with some kind of free gift that they opted in for, or if they come into your studio and take an intro class for the first time, you probably have some process of following up with them. That's your sales funnel. And sales funnels are really, really important. You can get really geeky about it and analytical and start to understand, like, if somebody comes in or somebody gives you their email address, there's a 10% chance that they'll buy something bigger from you within 3 months. And you can start to collect the data on this. That can come later, but just know that you want to have a consistent way of selling to someone once they have that initial point of contact for you. So for us, we have for Namastream, if you're on this call, you probably opted in for our gear guide. That is our most frequent opt-in. That's mostly what we're promoting on our website. And it was like, I don't know, it's almost everyone that comes to our list comes through our gear guide. So we have a gear guide that is how to teach yoga online, like all the equipment and gear that you need. And so that's something that we iterate on and make better, and it's pretty, and it's kind of a lot of information. So people come into our website, and there's a little pop-up now that says, like, get your free gear guide and learn how to teach yoga online. And then they give their email address, and then they come onto our list, and then they get a series of 5 emails over like 3 weeks that directs people to a webinar like today's. So some of you might be joining us from that exact funnel. But we also are promoting this training in a lot of other places, so maybe not, but that is our funnel. And then at the end of the webinar, historically, we would try to sell Namastream. And so that's how we get new clients onto our software. Often folks with Namastream want to go from a webinar to a demo, and then from a demo, they buy the software. So that's like a funnel for us. And like the cycle is rather long. It's like a month long or more cycle, because they get a gear guide, then they go through these 5 emails, and then they sign up for a webinar, and then they sign up for a demo, and then they buy our software. And it's actually, it works out well because it takes that time to get that equipment and start to learn to use it, and it sort of works out well. That's just one example of part of our funnel. We have a lot of other arms and tentacles of that as well. And we also have other products now that we sell in addition to the software itself. So that's what a sales funnel is. You should think about how you can create one for yourself if you don't already have one.
It doesn't have to be complicated. If you were to Google this and try to learn yourself, it is scary and overwhelming. Yeah. All those geeky internet marketing people out there with really complicated diagrams and ideas. So this really turns a lot of people off. So I just want to emphasize that if you are just starting taking your teaching online, your sales funnel can be as easy or simple as 3 emails or 4 emails, and that's it. And you can sort of evolve it over time, but it is something that you need to understand, but it can keep it really, really simple. And this is something we will be going through in the Soulful MBA, our business community, which we'll cover later.
Yeah. And I think, so here's the reason why you want to have a sales funnel, because you don't want to have to think about every new person that comes to your business or comes to your website or comes into your gym or whatever. You want to be able to focus your energy on getting more and more people to find you and come to you. And then once they come to you, there's a process in place that you don't have to mentally have to think about it for every new person. You don't want to have to be like, oh, did I email that person, or did I call and follow up with that person? You want to just have a system in place so that you don't think about it. All you think about is new ways to get people to find out about you. And then once they find out about you, they get funneled into a system that has its own ebb and flow. And in terms of like a physical yoga studio, for example, Chris, who is an advisor to us. He was a big studio owner who just sold a bunch of his studios last year. And he had something called a yoga advisor. And he's also a Soulful mentor in our MBA program. And so the way Chris's studios worked is if you went in and took a yoga class at one of his studios, he actually had a yoga advisor who worked for his company who would call and follow up at like timed intervals to see, how was your experience? How was the teacher? How was the classroom? What did you think? Would you like to take more classes here? What would you like to see, in order to be able to take more classes here? What about the price? And so there was actually like not an email funnel. It was a physical person whose job it was to call and follow up at timed intervals. And it was a process that was put into place. And I think that worked really well for him. He scaled to 7 physical brick and mortar studios, in part because he had systems in place like this. So a funnel is not just about online. I think it's often, like Sandy said, sort of used in this internet marketing jargon world, but it's really something that applies to brick and mortar as well. So that's our overview of sales funnels. We didn't have one in place for over a year. We're still building out our funnel. We're still learning. but it's really, really important. It's something that I personally wish I had understood when I started my company, because we would be in a different place right now, honestly, if we had, like, I let a lot of things go. Like, there's a lot of people who would call me and I wouldn't follow up properly because I was inundated, and, stuff gets lost. And so you learn. And so we want to share this experience with you so that maybe you won't make the same mistake that I did.
Great. All right, the law of empty shelves. So this is something I learned years and years ago, and it often comes back to haunt me, and I wanted to explain it today. So you know how in your home, if you were to clear off a shelf in your house, that shelf never stays empty. Things somehow magically migrate and fill up that shelf. So it applies to space, but it also applies to time. And what happened here? Did we lose our...
We lost our...
There we go. Okay. So prior to my internet world, I was in brick and mortar in retail stores and clinics, and I dreamed of this time leaving my my brick and mortar business, selling that, and moving into a position where I could run a business from my home and not be tied down to the physical space and staff and inventory and so on. And I imagined it that I would have, these hours of empty time out in my day, and if I wanted to go for a run, I could go for a run. If I wanted to do yoga, I could do yoga. And then I would just have all this empty space in front of me, all these hours. And it just, when I did get what I want, I sold that business and started an online business, and I had no more time. It was exactly the same situation, and that's the law of empty shelves, that the more time you have, the more it will get filled. The more space you have, the more it will get filled. So I think the lesson is that if you are starting a business, whether you are working full-time and starting it on the side, or if you're working part-time, starting it on the side, or whether you quit your job entirely and think you're going to have all this time, any of those situations, you still have to plan and prioritize your time, and just really, to be productive, it still takes planning. I imagine that I just would have endless time for some reason, and it seems so silly in hindsight, but there's this dream of all this freedom, I can do what I want with my day, and you still have to really, really plan that.
Yeah.
So do you have anything to add to that, Jenny?
I mean, just to preface that, to say we're both mothers, right? So we're both moms, and so that that kind of fills the shelf already, right? Like it's already full. So you really have to be intentional about your time and your planning. That's all. And we're using this tool. We can talk about this. We're using this tool. Oh, you can't see the productivity tool. Oh. We put this in our in our newsletter, yes, like a few weeks ago, because we're using this productivity planner thing, and it just, like, there's a million of these different things and programs and tools and calendars and whatever, but this helps with goal setting and making sure that you sort of have your most important task of the day. I don't know, might be too bright, and then your like secondary tasks and your other tasks, and you sort of like try to break things up into chunks of time. This has been really helpful for me. I am a shiny object syndrome person, and like I love learning, and so I would spend all my time just like researching and learning, and running a company means like there's a whole team to manage, and I could just talk to folks all day and check in on people and then take an online class, and it wouldn't be very productive, right? So like Sandy's saying, you, even as you're building out your business, if you've sort of taken away other things to make time for this, really make time for it in a planned out and scheduled way, because otherwise the time will get filled with nonsense.
Anything. Yeah, it happens so easily. So just be aware.
Yeah.
All right. So master copywriting. So let me first define what copywriting is, because there are some people who aren't, it's a term they're not so familiar with. So copywriting is basically any words that you would use for your business. So anything that you write anywhere is called copywriting. And it's a term that people don't relate to. I think with Mad Men, that one of my favorite TV series, those guys were copywriters, like 1960s, Manhattan, and their big ad campaigns for cigarette companies and airlines. That was copywriting. That was the definition for me. I don't do copywriting. That's like some career that somebody has. The truth is that copywriting, if you're going to run anything online or have any kind of online presence, you need to understand what this is, and you need to really start to learn this skill. Your written word is all that potential follower or client has to judge you from. So if you think you don't copyright, think about any words you write on your website. Think about any email subject line, your newsletter, anything you write on social media. That is all copywriting. Even if you're, brick and mortar and you still have like physical business cards or flyers or brochures, that's copywriting. So any words that you write down are copywriting. So we are all copywriters. And I just don't see this being discussed very often. I don't see this being talked about as something we need to learn. Most of our potential clients are focused on the camera and what they look like and how they're going to film, and all that is important, but they're forgetting that they still have to sell the stuff. They still have to communicate what it is that they do, and they can be the best at whatever it is they do, but if they don't have good copy, you've only got those eyeballs on your copy for a few seconds, and that person is making a split decision to fully read that Instagram post or to open up that email or to scroll down your website, and you've lost them if you can't grab them with the copy. So you need to persuade them with your copy, and you need to convert them. And so there are lots and lots of tricks and ways to do that, and it's different than technical writing, and it's different than creative writing. And I just wish that I had learned that earlier. So in my brick and mortar business, I hardly ever wrote. I would write technical reports back to physicians and surgeons regarding my patients, but I didn't write anything. So when I got into this world, I would say right now, currently with Namastream, my time, 60 to 70% of it is just writing. There's just so much writing that we need to do. And I had no idea, I had no clue how much writing was required. And so I kind of learned it, sort of fighting it a bit, because I don't see myself as a writer, but we all need to. We all need to do that. And anyway, so it's something that's really important, and I just think we need to talk about it more and start to point out that we need to learn this skill.
Yeah, and I'm grateful that you've taken it on, Sandy. I love writing, but my writing style is very different than copywriting. And so I have a tendency to be a little bit more long-winded and Sandy says poetic with my writing, which doesn't really work for running a company and doing copywriting. So just know that it's a skill you can learn, though. I mean, we, in the entrepreneurship program that we went through, one of the big tasks that we all had was to take a pen and paper and handwrite the front and back of a full-size piece of paper every single day, with someone's famous advertisements. And so one of the best ways to learn is by just copying what someone else has written, and you start to see the way they structure their sentences and the way you can make writing more persuasive. So there are tips to learn this, and Sandy's built out a huge training on copywriting inside our Soulful MBA, and I'm super grateful. I'm learning a lot from her training. So this is just a tiny little explanation and overview of something that's a much deeper, bigger topic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's actually kind of fun. It's turning. Yeah. It didn't used to be, but it's turning into fun. Good. Okay, the next one. How long until I make money? So there is no shortage of stories on the internet of people who did $100,000 launches or who made $1 million in a year, and we're inundated with these fantastic stories. And I have no doubt that there's many people who have done it, and probably most of them are true. But the reality is that you and Jenny and I and Kathleen, we are not making millions of dollars in the first couple of months or years. And so I think there's a bit of a misconception about how long it does take to make some serious money. So we see people who want to quit their jobs and do this full time, and it's just sort of, we want to caution them that really there is going to be a delay until your income, your revenue is significant enough that it can support you. We have one Namastream teacher who's maybe the exception to that, but he had 22, and I think he's got now over 30,000 Instagram followers. So he did fairly well right out of the gate.
Yeah,
but most of us don't have that. Week one, he had
Yeah.
a business that most you and I would be very grateful for. Even after 4, 5, 6 months, we'd be grateful for it. He did it in a week, but that's because he had such followers, which goes back to that whole email list lesson that you can never start gathering your followers and your readership and your email list. You can't do that soon enough. So I think just be realistic about what it's going to take and what your expectations are, and whatever that is, add a little bit more time because it's going to be much longer.
Yeah, and I would say like give yourself 2 years. Honestly, I'm a huge fan of the side hustle. I think that taking teaching online or your training online is an amazing thing to do to start an additional revenue stream for your business for what you're already doing. And like there's no way that you're just going to understand and be able to do this out the gate unless you have a massive following, which means you've already been doing it a long time in the offline space. How to say this gently, like the side hustle is the way to go. Here's the other extreme that people do. Well, I'm not going to start until I'm really ready. Like I'm not going to start until I have figured everything out and I know that I'll be successful right at the beginning. Like the only way you get there is by starting now. I mean, like it's going to take, give yourself like 24 months to like really be supporting yourself from doing this. Like you have to start now because that clock doesn't, the 24-month clock or the 20-month clock or whatever the average is, doesn't start until you start doing this job online. So
you got a lot of mistakes to make along the way.
You have to make your own mistakes. Like there's no like golden path to follow. Like we can do our best to fast track you and shorten that length of time, and other people as well in the space who've done this before. But like what has worked for me and our company is not going to be exactly the same for you. You have to make your own mistakes and find your own path, like anything, right? Like you would tell any of your students or clients the same thing about their bodies, like make it your own, listen to your own body, listen to your own journey. What you're going to take out into the world or what you're already taking out into the world is different than what we do. So like even if you were an identical software company to us, like you couldn't just copy what we did and have it the exact same results. Like you're not me, I'm not you, right? Like it's different. We have different life experiences that we bring to the work. And so most of you are not, sorry, that's my dog. Most of you are not technology companies anyway, right? Like you're wellness professionals and practitioners. So your journey is different. We've worked with like at this point, like many, many hundreds of you. And so we can sort of like, we can synthesize what seems to work best. And we can tell you that the sooner you get on the journey and start selling even to one person and iterating from there, the sooner you're going to get to the point where you have a business that supports you and your family. So it's going to take a while, but the only way you get there is by starting. And you're never going to take some class or do some program that's going to magically make it so that on day one, you've just been able to replace your full-time income. Like that's not how it works. So it's in a way, it's a bit liberating to know that, I think. And I mean, honestly, we knew that too going in. So this is a lesson less about us for ourselves, I think, and more about just from like, we hear this all the time from our own clients. We knew with software in particular, like it takes a long time. You have to build and iterate and it's expensive. So we are in a, again, slightly different situation. We didn't expect to be super profitable on day one. So it takes a little time, but it's the same for any kind of business online or offline, right? So.
Yeah, offline.
Yeah.
All right. Our last one, number 8. It's all you, Jenny.
Oh, yeah. So I think I take the prize in our team for being the most emotional. I'm extremely invested in this company and this business. And also like, I'm just a highly sensitive person. So I'm one of those people that's like genuinely sensitive to the world. And like being an entrepreneur is an emotional roller coaster. And so I think we all sort of know this, but I didn't understand it as deeply until I was in it as I do now. Like it's really true. It's not like sad and hard all the time. Like there are so many days that feel like I can't pinch me. Is this really my life? Like I love this. This is the best day of my life, right? And then like shortly thereafter, there'll be something that happens that feels terrible. some of this is just, for me, has been an evolution of learning to be comfortable in discomfort, because that's part of the path of entrepreneurship. And another part is just like building my own resilience to like understand that by choosing this path of life and career and this journey, it means that you're just open up to a lot more uncertainty than you would be with a traditional sort of 9-to-5 job or traditional career where you're working maybe as a yoga teacher for like 5 studios, right? Where like if something happens at one of them, you've got redundancy built in. When it's your own business, like you're it, right? Like this is your business and your team and your brand, and it's you, right? So if something goes wrong, like the impact is maybe a bit bigger in your life. And so just know that that's part of the journey. So if you thrive on sort of that, like that environment of like not knowing what's going to happen today or tomorrow, and it could be really, really exciting and the best day of your life, but it could also be really hard, then entrepreneurship is great for you. And I think I do thrive in that. It's when the days are hard, I tend to be more emotional about them than maybe other people would be. But that's why you have a support system. So just like it really is. And even 2 years in, like maybe it's even the highs are higher and the lows are lower because I have more invested now than I did. Every day I'm more and more invested in it, right? I've put more and more of my time and my family's time and money into it. But honestly, there's nothing else I would rather be doing. It's the ride of a lifetime. It really is.
But I think what I would want everyone to know is just to recognize the high highs and the low lows, because I think a lot of people, they may have a great sales day or they launch and everyone's really positive about their program or whatever, and they're just like, oh my God, this is so great. But it doesn't last. Like, you need to know that high, it doesn't just keep going like that. There's something that will happen that will bring you down, and you just kind of go, you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, and you just go back and forth. And I would say that because have owned my own business or been an entrepreneur for over 20 years now, I think the amplitudes kind of even out a little bit, like that you're aware that these things are going to happen, and when something happens, it's like, okay, and I don't get as down as I did when I first opened my store, however many, 15, 16 years ago. Someone would come in mad and it would destroy me, right? And so that was a very low, but 12 years later, that person is just not going to affect me the same, because you've learned how to deal with that emotionally and kind of protect yourself from that kind of energy. So it's just know that there's going to be ups and downs, and it's not going away, but hopefully it will, even out somewhat.
Yeah. I mean, I think I haven't learned that as well as you have, Sandy, which is why I'm so grateful to have you, because like every tech support, I don't see those anymore. Like that's another thing. If you can structure your business in a way that you can protect yourself from some of the things that are harder, like as you grow your business, you'll be able to bring in people to help you out, and then you can figure out what's best. Like it's best if I don't even see something until it needs my eyes, because I get stressed out seeing any kind of tech support request. And Sandy is so good at it. And
just fix it.
The rest of our team, she's like, oh, it's no big deal. They're not mad. It's fine. Something didn't work. It's fine. And I'm like, oh, I'm failing at life, right? Like because some glitch happened on a browser window somewhere. And so that is in particular like really hard for me. Or if like we'll get clients that will email us and say like, so my customer was double charged, I don't know what's going on, and then they feel stressed out, right? But it's like some PayPal glitch and we figure it out, and it's just part of it. It just is. And like I guess you learn to not care, and you learn like it's fine, it all works out, it all evens out. You just have to be responsible and handle it.
I know some of our clients who have had people sign up for a program and then leave. There's a million reasons that they may leave Namastream or Soulful or one of our teachers' programs. There's 1,000 reasons, and you just can't take that on. That does not affect my self-worth at all. Like people are going to come and go, and the people that we need and who need us are going to find us, and those that don't, they'll go and they'll on their way and find someone else. And I will not take that on personally. Like it's just a really difficult way to live, and I don't want to live like that. Like I just want to stay in the joyful places and learn from those that have left us. But by far, people are not mad when they leave you or when they have a problem. They're just maybe frustrated and scared, but they're not mad at you. And that lesson, with my retail staff, oh my God, I don't know how many times I've had to have that talk with people that if they get mad at a retail worker, it's not, there's usually something else going on, right? And we saw some really a sick population, so there was always big, amputations looming or infections or something. And so, yeah, people just took it so personally, like it's an attack, and it is absolutely, absolutely not. So, yeah, it's a learning.
Yeah, but
curve for sure.
again, like it's the greatest. I think this is the greatest ride of a lifetime is to be an entrepreneur.
It's
It
worth
really
it.
is.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
magical. It is magical to put yourself out there. So I'm a huge, huge fan of Seth Godin, and I have multiple things up around me in my office, like keep going is one of his sayings, or this might not work. And you do it, you show up and you give your best and you put your heart and your soul and your best effort into what you do. Like that's your work. That's you doing your work. And then how that's received out in the world, you don't get to control. And so I like to think about that. Like my responsibility is to doing the best ethical, smart, brave work I can do every single day. And that's the standard that I hold myself to, and how it's received, or if there's a problem, or like, crazy people come on out in the internet, right? Let's just be real. So like you learn when you start to get taunted or have people say negative things to you online as you're building out your brand, that's part of sort of like the victory march of it, right? Like that means that once people start being negative to you, it means you've arrived. I mean, essentially how like some people, like bloggers will say that. And I think there's some truth to that too. And so you've got to develop a little bit of a thick skin to be like, okay, I don't know who this person is who's saying this about me on social media, but like, whatever, that's not me, right? That's not about me. So I am not going to care. And I think part of it is just being okay with that. So anyway, that's like a dip into the emotional roller coaster, which we live in every day. And it's amazing. And, but just know to expect it. Just know that it's the bigger you build your business, like the more that's going to happen. And it's sort of part of it.
Yeah. So Jenny and I have been working in this industry for 2 or 3 years now, and we've taken all these lessons, and we talk to yoga teachers and trainers and all sorts of health and wellness professionals who want to start into this online world and take their teaching online. But we noticed that there was a very, very big gap, that they knew their content, but they knew they wanted to teach online, but the gap was that they didn't know how to market themselves, and the email list building that we talked about, or the marketing, or the copywriting, or all of this stuff. So we have built a new program to help fill that gap, so that before or even during your time with Namastream, you have a place to go and learn some of these trainings and these sort of these concepts, so you can put them into practice and be ready to launch with your content online and be profitable quicker. So what we've built is something called the Soulful MBA, and the website is actually soulful.mba. So we've created a monthly membership with training. So there are video trainings and there's live trainings that teach you the how to grow your business. But what we're really proud of is that we see ourselves as fairly soulful people, and we're kind of playful, and we're not like internet jargon nerd types that you can't understand. We want to take all our learnings and our experience and our training down to a level that you can understand it and you can implement it into your business and launch successfully. And so we're really excited about this, and it's been going since when, Jenny? Beginning of June?
Yeah, about a month in. I mean, we just sort of have started. We're just starting with this, and we're still sort of in beta mode a bit until the end of the summer. That's kind of how we're viewing it, because we're getting to know this new experience. Like basically the Soulful MBA is a community of like-minded folks in the wellness space, and we're all talking about growing our business and also getting really into the technical aspects of things like videography and video editing and branding and website and all of that, but in a community setting. And so we've like really benefited ourselves from having community. We met in an online entrepreneurship community program that in my mind transformed my entire life. Like my team is comprised of these people. My circle of friends is very different than it was a few years ago. I sort of, when you start to build out a business, especially online, like a lot of people won't be able to relate to it. And so you want to be able to have people who can relate and who can sort of help you and be a friend to you in that process, or an accountability partner or something. And so we've just created like basically what we would have needed, and also what we found that our clients needed, because we offer technical support to all of our software clients, and then we started getting a lot of requests for things that were not really technically about our software. Like it wasn't about like, how do I upload this, or how do I structure this price on Namastream? It's more like, how do I decide what to price my product, right? And that's a different question than how do you enter the price in the field in the software. And so we started doing consulting, but we had to charge, a fair sort of like a fair amount of money for that, for our time. We still do offer that occasionally. We offer strategy sessions for, I think it's how much is it?
I don't
It's
even
like
want to
just
guess.
under $1,000 for 4 hours of time. And so, and I think our clients who've gone through those experiences with us have had a great
Are doing
experience, but we
well.
can't offer that to everyone. We don't have the bandwidth because we are running a software company. So we created Soulful MBA as a way to do that work in a little bit more strategic and effective way. So you all can support each other, and we can be in there, and we can be creating trainings all the time and chiming in and offering support, but in a way that we can scale a little bit better. So the Soulful MBA is really like an outgrowth of the last 2 years of building Namastream and noticing exactly what questions we've been asked every single day, multiple times a day, that we're used to like saying over and over and over and over and over to people. And so we wanted to have a place to do that was more efficient for us, and also that we could build the community that we've been craving with our clients.
Yeah.
So it's so fun.
Yeah, so I've just put up a slide that shows you some of the content that's inside. So these are the things that we would get asked about. How do I do this? How do I do that? And we just didn't have time to individually explain or teach. So we've taken all our knowledge, and these are, we go through what kind of business model is best for you. Like how should you price and sell your content? Talk a little bit about branding. We have a huge copywriting unit in there. Jenny's in the middle of doing the email list building. So how do you do that? And she said earlier that there's a way to do it without even having a website. So we're going to teach you that. By far the most popular area in Soulful MBA is videography. And we actually have an entire film school in there, plus a whole editing course created by Caitlin King from Yoga Soleil. And also we have, I don't even know what the number is, probably like 7 or 8 really successful Namastream teachers who have already done this and figured out all these things. They're in there to help and advise our students as well. And there's like this huge list of just what their video setup looks like, because that's another really common, like what equipment how does this work? And so we've got that all listed out, and there's live conversation happening around it every day, and you can talk to someone who's done it. We're there in the community every day, as well as the Soulful mentors.
Yeah, I mean, it's great for us because it's a way for us to answer a question one time, and then like obviously like whenever there's a new question, we answer it too, or we'll provide feedback if somebody is confused about something we say. But it's just super helpful for us because then that saves our tech support for actual technical things going on with our software, and gives us a place to have kind of a business community and have the kinds of conversations that we as like soulful entrepreneurs crave ourselves. And so it's super fun. And we do a lot of education as well. Like, so Sandy and I and the rest of our team actually, so Kathleen and Jonna, our designer as well, like we're all sort of like education junkies. We love learning. And so we invest thousands of dollars like every quarter in our own education on like social media tactics, or what's the next thing with like live streaming, and how do you do video shares on Facebook Live? Like, we train ourselves constantly in this stuff. And so it's a way for us to synthesize that information and put it into a place for our clientele, which is great.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, I think most of these have been covered, but there's just a couple I want to point out. So the reason we built the Soulful MBA is that we wanted to make people give people some accountability. And there's nothing that works better than having a social accountability and the community around you. We wanted a place for people to be inspired to, because I would always get asked about, like, what is everybody else doing, or how does so and so do it? And this is where that inspiration can come from, learning from others that have come ahead of you. The trainings are adaptive. We are constantly building more as the things change. We should probably put something in there about Facebook Live, because that's the newest kind of thing out there. The trainings are always available. It's not dripped out to you. It's like you can get in there and do it all at once, or do it once an hour every week, or whatever works for your schedule. So there's no limitation on the content. And it's this really beautiful, living, evolving, growing community that is just, it's making a difference in people's in their lives, and building out their community, and they're connecting, and they're talking, and they're learning, and it's like a living thing. It's really, really beautiful to watch.
Yeah, and I think that the key thing that we wanted to talk about is it's not like a course. It's not like you sign up and you're in a course. Like this like there's a lot of training going on in there, but it's a community first and foremost. And so like we have over 60 training videos so far, and we have like another 100 plus sketched out that our team is in the process of making. Like we're all contributing. And we also have brought in kind of guest experts to create content for us in areas where we're not experts ourselves. So Sandy gave the example of Caitlin King, who from Yoga Soleil, who runs an amazing iMovie program. She was a guest on a past webinar, and Caitlin is in there, and her program is in there. And so, because I'm not an iMovie expert at all. And so we're trying to basically build a thing that we know our community needs, and we're curating it, and we're creating it in places where we can do the creation ourselves. And then the community aspect is also like key. It really is. Like people don't realize, like you all don't probably realize. I thought it was bogus. Like when I signed up for the entrepreneurship program where I met Sandy and Kathleen, I thought like, yeah, right. I'm not paying for a community, or I'm not going to like, I have friends, like I'm busy. I've got enough going. I have a child, like I'm good. Right. But there's something about being in community with people who are doing the same thing as you at the same point in life that just makes it bearable when it's hard, and makes it amazing when it's good. And it's the same reason why, like when you have a new baby, if you're also a mama, right, like you want to be in a mom and baby group, or a parenting group when you have little ones, right? Because like those are the other people who have 6-week-olds are like the only people on the planet that you can relate to at that point. And this is sort of similar. Like you have your business is your baby. Like you have a business baby. And so you want to be able to be like, hey, what do you guys think about the copy on my website right now? Like, sure, you can ask your friend or your partner or, your neighbor. They're not going to understand. They're not in it, right? Like they're not going to be able to give you the same kind of feedback that someone else who's in the space can give you.
Yeah, it is 12 noon, so I just want to be respectful of people's time. So I've got one more slide left, and then we can wrap this up. So if this is appealing to you, if this is like, this is what I need, please, 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 we would love to have you. So the website is soulful.mba. You can read more about it. There's tons of information about what the community is and who it's for. It is $47 a month, which I think is very reasonable for the amount of content and the community that you will connect with, and you can stay as long as you like, and you can get out at any time. There's no time limit to this, and we purposely did that so that it can work with wherever you are in your life. For this live training bonus, we are going to offer that any new members that we get by Saturday at midnight, we are going to guarantee that they have a 30-minute hot seat with Jenny and myself, so that we will take them through their current situation, understand what's happening in their business, what their goals are, and get them moving on to the next step. So we'll kind of break it down, dive deep into their business, and sort some stuff out and get them moving. And so that's also part of the Soulful MBA, is that there are recorded trainings, but we also do some live trainings one-on-one with people. So
yeah, 2 times a month we do.
Can't offer it to everyone, so.
Yeah. So this is, other than buying our $1,000 consulting package, which isn't available even right now. It's like, I think till September, there's no spots. This is the only way you get a call with us. So if that makes sense for you in terms of where you are in your business and you want to fast track something, like we'd love to do a hot seat with you. I think it's pretty fun for us too. So to learn more about you and how, like, what is the next thing you need to do to take action on in your online teaching or your business in order to move yourself to the next level where you want to be. I will also add, Sandy, that we do offer an annual plan for the MBA program, which is $470 for a year. And so it's like a 2 months free. You pay for 10 months and you get 12 months. And everyone who does the annual program gets a guaranteed hour hot seat with us. So just FYI, that's also an option that's available to you. We'd love to have you in there. And yeah, I mean, that's the Soulful MBA. And if you are interested in Namastream, of course, that's our like core competency as well. Namastream.com is our software. So if you're looking for a platform to teach and train online, we'd love to have you. Go ahead and send us an email at team@namastream.com if you have any questions about either program.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Thanks all.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Happy July.
Happy July. Happy stampeding.
Happy Stampede.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.